So today I'm talking about surplus food and food waste from supermarkets and how you can benefit from that to help lower your food bill and reduce food waste. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a brilliant day today. For those of you that don't know me, hi, my name's Amy, and on this channel I post content about frugal living, feeding your family on a budget and saving money. So if you like that kind of thing, I'd love it if you would subscribe, and if you press the bell then you can be notified every time I post a new video. So today I am talking about food again. Now, last week I posted a video about a local food waste project where I sometimes get sort of fruit and vegetables and things like that that just help lower my food bill, but they also help to reduce overall food waste as well, which is something that I feel quite strongly about. The fact that food waste is such a big issue in the UK when we also have people who are living in food poverty really gets to me. Basically, you can go along and buy food from them at a much lower cost than in the supermarket. It's all good food, it's all perfectly edible. The fruit and vegetables are really fresh. Quite often the food isn't even, past date, some of it. Maybe the box has got bashed up or something like that. Generally speaking, it's fruits, vegetables, bread, ready meals, those kind of things. And there are projects that run all across the country. So that is what I'm talking about today, but also a couple of other places that you can buy surplus food. So first things first, what is surplus food? Surplus food covers everything, all food that has not been purchased by a consumer in the UK. So it covers the supermarket food waste. So, when they have items that are going out of date or are damaged and things like that, that they can no longer sell. So that is covered by this, but it's also the wholesale side of things where maybe a manufacturer has produced too much, they expected a higher demand, the demand wasn't there, so therefore they have all of this stock that they can't get rid of, they can't get to the consumer. So you can also purchase those kind of products as well. There are three main ways that you can kind of benefit from the surplus food to lower your food bill, and it also obviously helps reduce food waste as well, which is just amazing in my opinion. Anything that can reduce food waste is just brilliant. So the first thing you can use is the Too Good To Go app. Now this started as mainly sort of restaurant food waste. So restaurants would produce a certain amount of food and maybe at the end of the day they would have some left, and you could just sort of purchase what they call a magic bag, and then you go and collect your magic bag, and it could be full of anything. You'd have a rough idea based on the type of restaurant it was, but you wouldn't know what you were going to get. And it could be meals, it could be desserts, it could be anything. Hotels as well do this. I've used this a few times for a hotel breakfast. So they're buffets that they do as a breakfast. You can then go along and basically you get leftover bits and pieces that otherwise would have just gone in the bin, and you pay a very low price for that food. Now, Morrisons have also joined the Too Good To Go app. Now, their boxes do sell out very quickly, but what their boxes consist of is stock that was left over at the end of the previous day that hasn't sold. It had been reduced, hadn't sold, and would just have to be thrown away as food waste. So you can purchase one of these boxes. They are £3.09. And then you can go along at a certain time, you're given a sort of slot that you go and collect, and you go and collect your box of food, and it could be anything. Now, my experience with these boxes has been a bit varied. I've always received more than the value that I've paid, but when I first used it, and I do think this is because it was quite new at the time and a lot of the stores didn't really know what was expected and what they were supposed to be doing and things like that. So the first time I used it was very surreal experience, to be honest, because they weren't really expecting us. They didn't know what to give us, and they ended up just kind of chucking some random bits in a box and getting us to go away. But since then, the stores have certainly gotten more used to it, and the majority of the time you will receive a really large full box of food, not just fruits and vegetables, but other bits and pieces as well, that would have just been food waste, for £3.09, which is amazing and can really lower your bill. Now, it does mean you need to adjust your meal planning around this kind of thing, because obviously you have no idea what you're going to get. If you do want to use the Too Good To Go app for Morrisons box, they do sell out incredibly quickly. So what I would suggest is you go onto the app, you find your local Morrisons, and you see what time it says that it's sold out the day before. And from about 5 minutes before that time, on the day that you're doing it, go onto the app and just be refreshing the page, because the moment they release those boxes, they will go. Now, different stores release those boxes at different times. It does tend to be around about 6 o'clock in the evening. For our local Morrisons, it's 6:15, and by sort of 6:16, 6:17, they've sold out. So you really do need to be very, very quick to get them, but they are well worth a try if you can. So Too Good To Go, I would definitely recommend giving them a try. Like I say, it's mostly sort of restaurants and hotels, but Morrisons is on there and definitely worth a try as well. It's also good if you want to have an evening where you're not cooking and you fancy a takeaway, but you obviously don't want to be spending that price. The Too Good To Go app, although you don't get to choose what you get, it will be random, can be a really sort of affordable way of just having something a bit different. Second thing that I want to talk to you about is the food surplus on a wholesale side of things. Now, there are several websites where you can buy food that is coming up to its best before date or just past its best before date, which is more sort of pantry items, kind of the dried foods and the sort of drinks and snacks, those kind of things. The one that I use most often is Approved Foods, and I will put a link in the description below. There, the prices do vary dramatically, but you will often find that they relate to the best before dates. Now, all of the items will tell you when the best before date is, but the items that they sell, none of them are past their use by date. And this is where the difference between best before and use by come in. Now, if something is past its use by date, you really shouldn't be using it. I mean, do use your own judgment, and you can sort of smell things and you will know whether something's gone bad. But generally speaking, if it's past its use by date, don't use it. Best before dates, though, offer a lot more flexibility because they are literally a best before date. So on Approved Food, you can go on and you can find all sorts of different pantry items, add them to your basket, and they will deliver direct to your door. Now, the postage and packing price is relatively expensive, but you get a whole box worth for that same price. So it is worth doing this and basically filling a box. It will keep track for you of how much your delivery will weigh, so you know when you're coming up to being close on needing another box. If you add another box, you add another delivery charge, so you do need to sort of be a bit careful and just be aware. But this is a really good way to do a big stock up of things you use regularly and would normally be spending a lot of money on. I use it for a lot of different snack items and that kind of thing. Cereal as well tends to be really good on there. Another website that's really good for this sort of thing, and again I do use personally, is Clearance XL. Now, their website is a little bit more tricky to navigate. However, you do get some really good deals on there, so it's well worth having a look. Again, I shall pop a link in the description below. There are lots of other companies that do this, so just have a look on Google because there really are loads out there. The two that I've personally used and would recommend to you though are Approved Foods and Clearance XL. Like I say, there's loads of others, but I haven't personally used them, so I can't say anything about those. And the third way that you can reduce your food bill by buying what is essentially food waste and stop it going to waste is to use different food projects. Now, there is something called the Real Junk Food Project. There are also lots of others across the UK, and I will link some in the description box below. There are also more sort of community-based projects as well, so just within your local area. But places like the Real Junk Food Project have different sort of sites across the country, and so do a lot of the other organisations that are doing this. So what these projects do, most of them are charities, by the way, they collect waste food from the supermarkets, they then sort it and organise it, and you can then go along and buy it from them at a much lower price than you would get in the supermarket, and you are keeping that food out of landfill. So it's kind of a win-win situation. Now, each project does work slightly differently. Some of them will make up sort of food parcels, and you pay a set price for that food parcel. You don't necessarily know what's going to be in it, but it will be a variety of different items. Some other places you go and you shop just like a shop, and then when you get to the end you pay what you feel it's worth. Now, when you pay what you feel, that doesn't necessarily have to be with money. If you genuinely can't afford it, a lot of the places, they're always in need of volunteers, so maybe you could volunteer some of your time, or maybe you have some items you could donate to them. So it is a pay what you feel, but not just with money. You could be paying with time or other items as well. That obviously depends on your personal situation. All of these different projects do such a worthwhile job, and I really would recommend finding out what's in your local area. I will link some below. But each area is different and does have different community projects, as well as the overall projects that have different places across the UK. So it is worth having a look. If you are trying to find places in your area, I would recommend doing searches for things like surplus food and then your area, or food waste and then your area. Quite often that is how you will find these projects coming up. Another great place to look is Facebook. That's how I found one of the ones that I sometimes go to, was through just looking on Facebook. Again, looking for surplus food and my area, and food waste and my area. I really strongly believe that food that is going in the bin is an absolute tragedy, whether that's in your own home or whether that is from the supermarkets. So any of these kind of projects, any of these different ways that we can use to help reduce food waste, that also then help our pockets as well, because we can buy this food for a much lower price than we would otherwise. Anything like that I think is amazing and well worth giving a try, and I've not had a single bad experience apart from my random little Morrisons thing the first time we tried it, but we still got a lot more value than we paid for, and it was just things that were just going to go in the bin. I hope you found this video helpful. It's quite a minefield when you start looking into all of these different projects, so do sort of keep going. There will be one near you. And it's worth getting in touch with them as well, because a lot of them do deliveries. So if you can't travel, then there's nothing to say that you won't still be able to do this. The Too Good To Go app, you do have to go and collect, but the sort of Approved Foods and Clearance XL, those kind of sites deliver to your door. So even if you can't get out and travel to places, there is still a way to receive that food and benefit from the surplus food that we have in this country. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe if you want to stick around and see more from me if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!